Welcome to the Idea Climbing Podcast. Today, we're discussing why, if you want to be a great leader, you must first learn how to lead yourself. Self-mastery is key, and I discuss that with my guest, Kathy Motlagh. We cover topics such as the four-pillar approach to creating successful self-leadership, how to let go of past traumas, the importance of self-management in leadership, and more golden nuggets of advice. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Idea Climbing Podcast. Today, we're talking about the importance of self-leadership for entrepreneurs, and my guest is Kathy Motlagh. She's the CEO and founder of ThinkVirtues, a visionary in a true sense. With the profound commitment to harnessing human potential, Kathy delves deep into the complexities of human behavior, unlocking the latent power within each individual she guides. Her strategic insights come from firsthand experience leading top leaders and pioneering successful enterprises, equipping her with the unique ability to steer you toward unparalleled success. At the heart of Kathy's philosophy is a personalized approach that identifies and nurtures your inherent genius. Her techniques are not just practices, but transformative experiences meticulously crafted from extensive research and tailored to foster both personal and organizational growth. You can dive into a journey of self-discovery and empowerment with Kathy, where your untapped potential meets limitless possibilities. That's a big promise we're going to fulfill on this interview. I really appreciate you being here, Kathy.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be with you.
And I'd love to know, with self-leadership for entrepreneurs, how did you discover the importance of it? What's your story as far as, okay, we're going to talk about that, but what's your story? How did you discover that?
Well, it was my own journey to my own authentic power that really led me to this. And along the way, I've been fortunate to be coached by some of the world's best coaches. And what I've noticed with all of the people I've served and helped and worked with, one of the ingredients that is common among people who really lead phenomenal organization is this really beautiful leadership quality. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, leadership is really important. The reason a lot of businesses fail is not because it's a bad idea or it's a bad business model. It's really the entrepreneur's lack of leadership that really ends up causing some of the later blooming and delays, and sometimes sadly the demise of the business. So it's really important for all entrepreneurs to understand that leadership is an important component of running a successful business, whether you're leading a team or just yourself.
I'd love to talk about that a little bit more. I love your take on leading yourself, because I know some people think leadership, well, I'm not the CEO with 4 C-suite people reporting to me. I think that's what leadership is. You talk about self-leadership, even if it's a solopreneur. Could you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah. You know, what drives us? What gives us that incentive to get out of bed and to execute? That's an important topic to understand. And in order to understand that, we really need to understand who we are authentically, deep within us, not dictated by exterior forces or conditioning, how we grew up, who our parents were, where were we educated. These all have influences over us in who we think we are. And when we tap into our authentic self, true authentic self, which is really taking the time to understand our past, what impact does our past have with us still today? Most people's past is still with them. They've never spent the time to unearth, understand, and really release and let go of the past. What is their perception? How does the world occur to them, and why? So what is that engine behind how the world occurs to us? Metacognition is an important thing. Were you going to ask me a question?
Yeah. So when you discover that your past is affecting you, getting in the way, however you phrase it, what do you do after that discovery?
When you figure out what it is that is stopping you, for example, if you have traumas, if you have experiences, if you have repeated things occur to you, some people have, unfortunate things occur to them over and over again, whether it's relationships, whether it's businesses or projects that they didn't have the success that they wanted in, and the cycle continues to occur, even if they change scenery or move to a different place or move platforms or move businesses. The cycle continues. And that's because there's a trauma there that needs to be unearthed, understood, and let go. And once you clean the space, then you are able to then start have a chance at success with a new project, perhaps. So yeah, we have a process where we take people to make sure that they really let go of things that are holding them back.
So what's the next step? You discover it, you work through it, then you let go.
Yes.
What do you do after you let go?
Then the canvas is clean and you can start fresh with all of the patterns that actually serve you. And so we don't just stop there. So the past is one component. So it's like a four-pillared approach. First is the past. Second is our perception. How does the world occur to us and why? And gaining that metacognition gives us the wisdom to kind of understand how is it that these emotions, which is emotional management in leadership, is incredibly important. Some coaches argue that 80 to 90% of leadership is emotional management, your own emotional management and emotional management of others. So what do you do when you're under a lot of anxiety and stress? What do you do when you're overwhelmed? What do you do when you're angry and upset and disappointed? So those are all things that we want to make sure we equip leaders with that understanding, and really having those tools on their belts. They're able to really self-regulate a lot more quickly, therefore not spend that much time down, because these negative emotions hold us down for days, weeks, some people months, some people years. They're stuck in that same emotion. Then the next thing that holds us back from our true authentic self is our false sense of identity. So our false self is something that's predicated by our, what gender am I? Where was I born? What's my religion? What's my political choice? None of those are our authentic self. They're our identity, and it's actually our false sense of identity. Our true identity is so much more powerful than that. And then the next big one is the ego. Ego is we need it in this realm of existence, but it's really mostly survival based, and it holds us in a safe place and stunts our growth. So we need to really build a healthy relationship with our ego. Or the ego, I call it, the ego energy, so that it is really not the driver, but the passenger, the loyal passenger that's keeping us safe. But not to a point where we're not allowing our creativity, innovation muscles to get in there and really create the life that we want.
Well, when you work through issues, let's say with the ego, and you're ready to take on more of a leadership role, whether you're a solopreneur or otherwise, how do you define at that stage? What do you define self-leadership as after you've worked through the issues that you have?
Then a leadership becomes a game of, what is it that I'm going to create? How is it I'm going to add value? What is my soul signature? What is the difference I'm here to make? How am I impacting others? How am I adding value to others? So then you're authentic. Once you have really put these four components of ourselves in the right perspective, then our authentic self can really come out and really express itself in a way that has a presence of authenticity, where it's very connective, it's deep, and you get a lot further with having made connections, relationships. For solopreneurs, those are very important things in terms of creating a successful business. It's about really building relationships with the people that you want to serve and fulfilling in that relationship. So it really allows you to step into a part of yourself that's been inaccessible to you, perhaps.
You've said authenticity a few times. Could you unpack that a little bit? What is it? How do you effectively express it?
Yeah. So authenticity is a word that's used a lot in leadership, particularly because most people want to be themselves. They equate that with being yourself. And though we describe authenticity as being yourself, but it's your higher self. It's your powerful self. So, and we work with consciousness, and the scale of consciousness that was created by Dr. Hawkins, and so many other people who studied consciousness also refer to it and learn from it. And so the scale starts from 20 to 700 and above, and 20 being shame, 30 guilt, and going up to courage. And each one of them have a vibrational frequency. So shame is at 20 and courage is at 200. So what we mean by authentic self is really reaching that level of courage at 200, where your authentic power is. So it's a different level of accessibility to our true genius, our being in a state of flow where we're creating effortlessly, when we're really connected to divine energy, where we're getting the infinite source of power coming through us and expressing ourselves in a way that really lands with people when we communicate, that is genuine in every way. And people know that before we utter a word, people feel our presence, feel our energy. So the type of authenticity I'm talking about is that deep sense of self that really, you're completely at home with who you are. You understand, you have that humble confidence about you. You're here to build connection, understand the other person, and see if you can truly help them. And that is what's appreciated, especially now, just good old honesty in a way that's genuine. So that's what we're talking about.
So on that scale, how do you go about raising your level of consciousness, shifting your energy? What do you do to climb the scale?
That is a very, very good question. Thank you for that, Mark. So what's keeping us down in these lower states of consciousness is these trapped emotions. So that we talked about: shame, guilt, apathy, which is where depression is. We all get depressed. Fear, we're all, during COVID, a lot of people dropped into fear energy, fear consciousness, because we were all afraid of catching this horrible disease that could potentially kill us, kill our loved ones. We all have people who are kind of at risk health-wise. So if we're not worried about ourselves, we were worried about people we loved. And other people, all kinds of people who we were touched by. We wanted to make sure that they were safe. So a lot of people fell into that fear consciousness, which is at 100. So what holds us back is these negative emotions. Also, anger, pride is another stumbling block to hitting that courage mark, which is a critical point in the map of consciousness to reach. So by really letting go of the old patterns, again, getting rid of the releasing, surrendering, letting go of these negative emotions that have really hindered our growth in consciousness, our elevation, our ascension in consciousness. And so that we can, turn a rock, the rock, let's say, I always make the analogy of rock, turn that into a cork where it just comes up in the water as a consequence of who he has become or she has become, we have become. So it's, so that level of consciousness is not only accessible to us, it's our natural state of being. So, we want to see more people have access to that part of themselves.
Are there exercises? Are there examples of exercises that change your level of consciousness that you can practice?
Yeah, it's really about a way of being. The best way to really ascend on the map of consciousness is to really be loving to everyone, be forgiving to everyone and everything, including yourself, by the way. Be kind to yourself, be forgiving to yourself. We're human beings. We all make mistakes. So don't be so hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Of course, be reflective, because we don't want to make the same mistakes over and over again. We want to be reflective, but nothing is gained from us beating ourselves up. But reflection is an important exercise. So that's one of the things that we recommend is being kind, loving, forgiving, to everyone and all things without exception. That was one of the things that Dr. Hawkins talked about a lot, and that's a really beautiful way to ascend on the map of consciousness, when you're more forgiving than judgmental, when you're more understanding than critical. So that allows you to live in a state of freedom. Ego keeps us trapped by its positionalities, by always comparing, always criticizing, they demonizing the other side. Just understanding, just because you like vanilla, it doesn't make chocolate bad.
Nice.
They're both good, they're both good, to each his own, and it's okay. We're all different, and it's all good. It's all good.
So what are some things that people should reflect on? I love where this is going. What are some things is it something about themselves? Is it the outer world? What kind of reflection should people be focusing on?
Yeah, the contemplative thoughts that I love for people to start to do is really that self-love and appreciation. We reduce ourselves to the last bad thing that we see ourselves doing, or others too. I want people to really have a sense of appreciation that we contemplate 70,000 thoughts a day on average.
That's
and we
crazy.
make 30,000 decisions a day. So you know what? If you made one bad decision, that's all right. So don't be so hard on yourself. Look for silver linings, of course. You don't want to make the same mistakes over and over again. You want to be accountable, you want to be responsible, but that's not the same thing as beating yourself up by saying things like, I'm such a loser, I'm never going to get there. Those kinds of dialogues exist in people's vocabulary and self-talk quite often, more often than we'd like to see. So I'd like to really have people contemplate and really sit in contemplation of self-love, self-reverence, self-appreciation, self-forgiveness. And by doing that, we automatically become more forgiving towards others. We appreciate them more. We don't reduce them to the one bad thing they did, or one wrong thing. We view, we view it. I'm not saying that it is, but just in our own field of perception seems to be not the right thing to do. And we have this habit of demonizing people, and it's, if we forget about doing that and instead giving them grace and understanding that, that was one thing, but they probably did 15, 20,000 of other good things today, or wonderful things today, things that elevated others. So yeah, that's an exercise I love to have more people participate in.
I love that. Well, how about when you achieve a higher level of consciousness? I would imagine, it could be easy to slip backwards. Once you get to a higher level of consciousness with doing what we've been talking about, how do you maintain that? Because it seems like that could be a Herculean task, or is it not?
That's a very good question. We live in a realm of existence where there's unlimited potential for ascension, and it's unlimited potential for falling. And we're constantly being bombarded in the news, media, social media. And, we hear stories of, disastrous type. We are witnessing a war on the other side of the world. We hear about violence in our own country. And so those are all things that rightfully every human being that hears that, obviously they're going to come down to sadness, to anger, to to fear, whatever their disposition is. So the maintaining it is a daily task. Absolutely. So you can't just say, oh, I'm going to continue. So the growth is continual, and you want to stay in that. The name of our company is ThinkVirtues. And what that means is really thinking through our higher self and really holding ourselves high, because that's who we truly are. The lower states of consciousness under courage doesn't even exist in the field of consciousness. It's all made up in our own mind by the stories we tell ourselves, by the limiting beliefs we have. So that's by embracing the truth of who we are, opening our heart daily and being loving, kind, and forgiving, and having compassion for others, and doing it continually. I always like to say that everyone should start their day out with a clear intention of what they're going to create in the world. And it's really important to clue into one of the exercises we do in the class that one of our signature courses, which is called The Power of Authenticity, is identifying what your top virtues are. And some people pick 3, some people pick 10, some people pick 20 and more, believe it or not. And I like to make those as their mantra at the beginning of the day. How is it that you want to show up? Is it with love? Is it with joy? Is it with playfulness? How is it? What is important to you, and why? And so having that sense of beingness at your forefront, and that's an intention, then every one of your encounters is going to be impacted by that thought pattern. So we want to encourage people to do that. And at the end of the day, I always encourage people to really sit down and reflect on the day, not from a critical perspective, a reflective perspective. How did it go? How did I do? What happened? Who did I touch? Who did I serve? Where did I add value? And I've done the same exercise, and I can tell you that I make mistakes just like everybody else. Things that I wish I hadn't done, emails I wish I hadn't sent, because I'm a heart-centered person. I love people, and I don't like to say or sound like I'm not sensitive, and so I always do that. At the end of the day, I sit down and then I self-correct. Next time the same situation comes up, I'm going to be more thoughtful about it. And I think that that's really an important part of self-leadership, because too often we ruin relationships unnecessarily by being reactive. Having that intention set in the day, and then at the end of the day being reflective, gives us the chance to be more discerning in our actions, behaviors, and how we touch one another. Because we're a big family. This world is the more you know how closely related we all are, and so it's really important to love each other more and criticize less, and just lift each other up more, help each other more, rather than, be competitive. And yeah.
I love that. And we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. For people watching and listening, if you were to say, when it comes to self-leadership, whether it's reinforcing something we spoke about or maybe something new, either one, if you were to say, if nothing else, to move the needle forward, do this one thing above all, one thing, what would you say is that thing that they should do and embrace to be better at self-leadership?
The best thing a leader can do right now is to raise their consciousness to courage and above. I think every leader, if they reached courage and above, then 90% of their issues that they're dealing with would go away. And naturally, we've all heard of the law of attraction, which is, The Secret. The movie was just a really kindergarten version of it. But law of attraction is a thing. Has scientifically been proven how we can actually create. We're incredibly powerful, and the closer the closer we are to 200, we want to be at 200 and above. Then more of your creations are going to be magnetic, are going to be serendipitous. Other people are going to come and help you. So you're a bigger, better creator in terms of bringing what's benevolent, what's good for you, what's good for the world into existence, tapping into that potential. Flow state, you've heard of being in a flow state. That's what's available to you. So you could get into flow state by manipulating your mind to do so, by quieting the mind, or you could go up on the map of consciousness and be in flow state constantly. Which would you rather have?
I'll take flow state every time.
Yes, every time, because you're going to be magnetic to what you want. So you don't attract into your life experience actually what you want. You attract who you are. So by ascending on that map of consciousness to where flow state is your beingness, then everything comes to you as a nature of it. Because as a natural state that you are, you're going to magnetically attract to yourself like situations and circumstances and people who are going to actually help you get to where you want to go.
That is an awesome place to be. If people want to find you online, where's the best place to go?
Well, my LinkedIn, are you on, is this going to be on LinkedIn? I'm on
Yes.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place. I also have a gift for your audience that you can include in this. That's a kind of a cheat sheet for manifestation. So they can sign up for that. And if they opt in, we can invite them to all of our free expert sessions. We have LinkedIn Lives. And I do right now offer breakthrough sessions for people as well. So they can sign up for that on our site also.
Thank you so much for the time, Kathy. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's been so much fun.
And scene. There we go.